Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me. You'd think paying for the whole damn party would at least get you in the door. My name's Mitch Callahan. I'm 56 years old, run a heating and air business out of Portland, Oregon, and apparently I'm invisible. I've always been the reliable one. The guy who got the job done, fixed the busted water heater, covered rent when Lisa was between contracts, bought dad a new alternator when Joel trashed his Civic, racing it down 82nd. Never once did I ask for anything back. I just figured that's what family did. You stepped up when things fell apart. But somewhere along the line, they stopped seeing me as family and started seeing me as the emergency fund with a face. Last month, I paid $32,000 to reserve the entire top floor of Ridgeway Tavern for my parents' 45th anniversary. Not a dime from Joel or Lisa, not a peep of gratitude either, just another round of texts asking if I could handle it. Sure, why not? The plan was simple: a classy dinner, drinks, big views of downtown, a string quartet for my mom, she used to love that stuff, and a surprise gift at the end, matching Tag Heuer watches, 3 grand a piece, because dad once pointed at one in a magazine and said, "That's a real man's watch." I figured maybe, just maybe, this time they'd say thank you. Hell, I even put on a suit. The plan was simple: a classy dinner, drinks, big views of downtown, a string quartet for my mom, she used to love that stuff, and a surprise gift at the end, matching Tag Heuer watches. I figured maybe, just maybe, this time they'd say thank you. But instead of gratitude, I got escorted out of the restaurant I'd paid for, thrown out of a party I organized by my own family. At the time, I didn't scream. I didn't fight. I just handed over the gifts and left like a stranger. But that moment split everything wide open. "You're kidding me, right?" I asked. The shorter guard shrugged. "We were told you've been causing problems, that you're not on the guest list. Sir, we need you to leave." I looked up the stairs, hoping I'd see Lisa wave or Joel smirking like this was some kind of stupid prank. But no one came down. No one looked over the railing. I didn't yell. I didn't argue. I handed them the watch box like I was giving away a piece of myself and walked out the same door I just paid $32,000 to walk through. I got to my truck, sat in the dark, and stared at my own reflection in the windshield. I looked ridiculous. Tie crooked, hair too short on one side, barber had been in a rush. That stupid heavy feeling in my chest started to build. The kicker? As I pulled out of the parking lot, I checked my phone. Nothing from Dad. No apology. No explanation. Just a text from Joel 2 hours later. "Hope you didn't take tonight personally. Dad just didn't want drama." Drama. Me. I funded the entire thing, bought the damn watches, and I was the drama. And in that moment, I realized something. I wasn't the son. I was the sponsor. And I'd just been cut from the guest list of my own family. Being the reliable one means they stop seeing you as family, just a wallet with legs. Growing up, I learned pretty early that the only way to get noticed in our house was to cause problems or fail at something. That wasn't my style. I was the middle kid, the quiet one, the fixer. My little brother Joel crashed a car into a mailbox at 17, and Dad said, "He's just figuring stuff out." Lisa couldn't hold a job for more than a year, and Mom said she's just got a sensitive soul. Me? I bought my first truck with lawn mowing money at 15. Nobody blinked. Nobody said good job or we're proud of you. Just a pat on the back and a don't forget to put insurance on it. That was my place in the Callahan family. Get it done. Don't complain. I paid my way through tech school while working nights and weekends fixing air conditioners. I got my HVAC license the same day Lisa threw a birthday party for her cat. No one came to my ceremony. When I mentioned it at dinner later that week, Dad said, "Well, it's not like it's a real degree," and passed me the mashed potatoes. I should have said something back, but I didn't, because that's how it worked in our house. Joel got second chances. Lisa got sympathy. I got silence and responsibility. I remember once, back in 2009, Lisa overdrafted her bank account 3 times in a month. Mom called me in a panic, said Lisa was spiraling and needed support. I wired her $800 that afternoon and drove to her apartment the next day with groceries. She was watching reality TV and had a fresh gel manicure. When I asked what was going on, she said, "Money's just so stressful, you know?" She had no idea what stress was. I was 29, pulling double shifts to pay my mortgage and Dad's back taxes. Joel had just bailed on another warehouse job, and I covered his rent that summer. He called it a rough patch. He spent most of it fishing and sleeping until noon. It never occurred to them that I might be tired, that I might be struggling, because I never made it their problem. And because I never made it their problem, they assumed I never had any. They got used to it, the dependability. I'd show up with tools when the furnace stopped. I'd write a check when the electric bill got accidentally forgotten. Every time Joel said, "You're a lifesaver," what he meant was, "Thanks for handling it so I don't have to." One Thanksgiving, I was underneath Mom's sink fixing a busted pipe while everyone else was drinking wine in the living room. Joel popped in once to ask if I was almost done. He had a football game to catch on TV. They didn't even wait for me to finish before carving the turkey. It wasn't always like that. When we were little, I thought maybe, just maybe, being the reliable one would make them proud. That if I just kept being good, being steady, being useful, they'd eventually look up from Joel's latest mess or Lisa's latest heartbreak and see me. But they never did. I'd hear them talking about me sometimes. Not in a loving way, not even in a resentful way, just neutral. Like I was a given, like indoor plumbing or fresh batteries. Mitch'll figure it out. Ask Mitch. He always knows what to do. He's got it covered. I became the family version of duct tape. You don't thank the duct tape. You just expect it to hold everything together. Then one day, I woke up and realized something. They didn't even ask if I wanted to help. They just handed me the bill, the broken appliance, the guilt, and moved on. The worst part? I kept letting them. I was in my 50s before I really saw it. The pattern. The way they only called when something was wrong. How Lisa could spend 3 hours on the phone with Mom talking about her new boyfriend, but I'd get a 2-sentence text when Dad needed a ride to the doctor. They called Joel the baby well into his 40s. They called Lisa sensitive every time she flaked. And me, I was independent, which was code for "we don't worry about you." But I was tired. Tired of being the guy who showed up with the solution and never got a seat at the table. Tired of being invisible until something broke. I didn't want a parade. I didn't need a plaque. But damn, a thank you now and then wouldn't have killed them. And that's when something inside me shifted. I started keeping track. Not just the money, though that was part of it, but the pattern. The calls that came only when someone needed something. The birthdays forgotten. The invites that never came unless I was footing the bill. That Ridgeway Tavern night didn't come out of nowhere. It was just the final confirmation of something I'd been too stubborn to admit. They didn't see me, not as a son, not as a brother, just as the guy who paid the deposit, fixed the leak, and left before dessert. And I was done pretending that was love. The price of being dependable is becoming invisible. You don't feel it all at once. That's the trick of it. You don't wake up one day and realize your family sees you as a bottomless bank account. It happens slowly, like a faucet dripping into a sink you never meant to fill. I thought I could keep giving without breaking. I thought they'd notice eventually, but they didn't. So one night, I opened my laptop and pulled up the file I hadn't dared look at in months. And that didn't include the small stuff. The phone bills, the groceries I happened to pick up when I visited. The gas cards, the last-minute airfare, the new tires for Joel's truck. The extra $2,000 I paid on Lisa's car note so it wouldn't get repossessed before her weekend in Tahoe. They didn't just take the money. They took me, my time, my silence, my patience. I'd show up at Christmas with new gifts, things I knew they couldn't afford. Lisa's kids got iPads. Joel got Bluetooth speakers for his garage. Dad got a new watch band. Mom cried over a heated blanket from Nordstrom. Nobody asked how I was. Nobody offered to cover the wine or even wash a dish. Last Thanksgiving, I spent the holiday alone, not by choice. I found out on Facebook that they were all in Palm Springs. Family getaway, Lisa wrote. Much needed R&R with the people who matter most. People who matter. I FaceTimed Mom from my kitchen to help her troubleshoot her dishwasher. I was 1,200 miles away, trying to talk her through how to reset the damn thing while Joel posted pictures of cocktails by the pool. They didn't even tell me they were going. And I still fixed the dishwasher. I should have stopped. I should have drawn the line years ago. But I kept thinking, if I just held on a little longer, if I just stayed steady, they'd notice. They'd appreciate it. Maybe even say something. They never did. And the scariest part, they stopped seeing it as help. It became expected. Like a utility, like autopay. Joel once called me the vault, said it as a joke. Don't worry, Mitch is the vault, never runs dry. Lisa told a friend of hers that I liked being generous. I only knew because her friend repeated it to me, laughing. You're so sweet, she said. Lisa says you just love taking care of everyone. No, I didn't love it. I just didn't know how to stop. Because if I stopped, who was I? Not the favorite, not the baby, not the one who needed saving, just Mitch. And maybe that wasn't enough for them. So I kept going, even when it burned, even when I felt like a ghost in my own family. Until Ridgeway. Until the night I showed up with 2 watches and got escorted out like a stranger. And even then, some stupid part of me still thought maybe it was a mistake. Maybe they didn't know, but they knew. They always knew. They just didn't care. Paying for a party you're not invited to isn't even the worst part. I booked Ridgeway Tavern's private floor in early February. Dad said he wanted something elegant but not flashy, so I dated my homework. Found a place with valet, skyline views, real linen napkins, no cheesy banquet hall. The total came out to just under $32,000. I paid 20 grand up front. Joel and Lisa didn't contribute a dime. Not a thank you, not even a what can we bring. The only thing Lisa offered was to handle the playlist, which turned out to mean emailing me a Spotify link to some jazz standards. I didn't care. I just wanted the night to be good. I figured if I made it special enough, if I finally put them in a room where everything was polished and pretty and taken care of, they'd see me, maybe even see each other, maybe see me as something more than just the guy who handled the problems. I even bought them watches, matching Tag Heuers. Stainless steel, blue dials, automatic movement. Dad had once pointed to a picture in a magazine and said, "That's what a real man wears. It's stuck." I had them engraved on the back. 45 years, Roy and Janet. Love, Mitch. They came in soft black boxes with silver clasps. I kept them in the glove compartment until it was time. That night, I wore a suit, a real suit, not just a blazer and jeans. Navy blue, pressed shirt, tie, polished shoes. I got a haircut the day before and even let the girl at the barbershop talk me into a little product. I hadn't dressed up in years, but I did it for them. I showed up at Ridgeway 15 minutes before the reservation. The parking lot was full. I had to circle around twice before I found a spot by the loading dock. When I got inside, the hostess didn't look up right away. She was scanning a clipboard. "Hi," I said. "I'm Mitch Callahan. I booked the private floor tonight for a party. Should be under my name, or maybe my father's. Roy Callahan." She blinked. "Hold on," she said. She disappeared into the back. I waited. Checked my watch. The box with the Tag Heuers felt heavy in my coat pocket. 5 minutes, then 10. Then she came back, followed by a man in a black polo shirt with a security badge on his chest. "Mr. Callahan?" he asked. "Yeah," I said, standing straighter. "I'm here for the anniversary party. I paid the deposit. I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he said. I stared at him. "What?" "Mr. Callahan," he said, "your father specifically instructed that you are not to be admitted." I actually laughed, thought it was some kind of twisted prank. "I paid for the floor," I said. "I paid 20 grand up front. I have the receipt in my truck." "I'm just following instructions, sir. I was told to avoid a scene. If you resist, we'll have to escort you out." Ah. I couldn't speak. My tongue was frozen. Behind them, I saw a waiter walk past with a tray of champagne flutes, heard the tinkle of silverware on china, saw Lisa in the distance, laughing at something Joel said. She was holding a wine glass. She looked right past me. I turned to the hostess. "Tell my father Mitch is here," I said. "Tell him I'm the one who booked the floor and paid the bill, and I have his gift." She hesitated, then nodded and disappeared upstairs. I waited in the lobby, people walking past me like I was invisible. I looked down at my shoes, new polish already scuffed from the lot, and wiped my palms against my coat. 5 minutes later, 2 more security guards came down. One of them stepped forward. "Sir," he said, "we've confirmed with Mr. Callahan. You need to leave." I blinked. "You confirmed with my father?" "Yes," he said, and I quote, "Get this beggar out of here." I felt the floor tilt. Beggar. I opened my mouth, then closed it. No one else moved. No one else seemed to notice. The party was in full swing upstairs. Music, glasses clinking, voices raised in laughter. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just nodded, walked out, Back in the parking lot, I sat in my truck for 20 minutes with the Tag Heuer boxes in my lap. I didn't open them. I didn't text anyone. I just stared at my own reflection in the windshield, and then I drove home. No one called. No one explained. No one asked if I was okay. And that's when it hit me. It wasn't about the watches. It wasn't about the suit or the party or the $20,000. It was about how easy it was for them to erase me and how long they'd been doing it. You don't get mad at thieves until you catch them bragging about the loot. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the truck for over an hour, engine off, coat still on, the Tag Heuer boxes on the passenger seat untouched. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. Not from anger exactly, more like realization. That deep, settling cold that hits you when you finally see things clearly and wish you didn't. Around midnight, I drove home, didn't turn on the lights, just went straight to the office, flipped open my laptop, and opened QuickBooks. I hadn't looked at the family expenses file in months. I started from the top. Joel's gym disaster, $11,000. Lisa's kitchen remodel, $8,500. Dad's gambling cleanup, $6,000. The mortgage cover stretch, $32,000. Airfare, gifts, medical bills, another $14,000 easy. The Ridgeway Tavern deposit, $20. Watch set, $3,200. And that was just the big ticket stuff. I combed through it all. Transactions I'd forgotten, Uber gift cards, restaurant reservations, checks I mailed and never heard about again. The final total, $311,000. $311,000. I stared at the number like it was somebody else's bank account. Then I opened my banking app. They were still spending, still charging meals at Ridgeway Tavern to the open tab I'd left when I paid the deposit. I watched in real time as the bill ticked higher. Extra champagne, a cake from a bakery I recognized from TV, upgraded entrees. Not only had they thrown me out, they were toasting with my money. I clicked over to Joel's Instagram. First photo, him, standing with a champagne flute held high, captioned, "What a night." Grateful to give my parents this amazing gift. 68 likes and counting. Comments full of, "You're such a great son." Next one, Lisa's husband toasting in front of a projection screen that read Disneyland, coming soon. Captioned, "Surprising mom and dad with a family trip to the happiest place on earth." I stared at the screen. That was me. I had booked that cruise. I had paid the Disneyland deposit 2 weeks ago. And now Joel and Lisa were out there collecting applause like they'd done something heroic. They weren't just cutting me out, they were stealing my name. I looked back at the QuickBooks total, $311,000. I leaned back in my chair and felt it for the first time. Not anger, not sadness, clarity. This wasn't just ungratefulness. It wasn't just being the forgotten son or the financial safety net. This was theft. This was identity theft of my kindness, my time, my generosity, and I'd let it happen. I had handed them the key to everything, and they used it to lock me out. The worst part, I think they assumed I'd keep doing it, that no matter how cruel they were, I'd show up with a smile and a credit card, because I always did. But not this time. This time, I wasn't just going to say no. This time, I was going to burn the damn ladder they used to climb over me. Because there's something about seeing your generosity stolen, repackaged, that flips a switch in your head. You stop asking, why are they doing this to me? And you start asking, what happens if I stop letting them? That night, I didn't cry. I didn't text anyone. I just sat in the dark, staring at a spreadsheet that spelled out the past 15 years of my life in dollar signs and disappointment. And I made a plan, not for revenge, for closure, for a clean break. For once, I was going to stop being the good son and start being the man who finally said enough. When you shut the money off, the love dries up real quick. The next morning, I woke up before sunrise. I didn't eat, didn't shower. I just put on the same clothes from the night before, sat down at my desk, and started making calls. First was my bookkeeper, Carla. She picked up on the first ring. "Mitch, everything okay?" "Yeah," I said. "Actually, no. I need to freeze the Callahan accounts, Joel's LLC, Lisa's personal use sub-account, every one of them. Shut it down." There was a pause. "You sure?" "Dead sure. Also, flag anything with the Ridgeway Tavern. I want a full report." "Got it," she said, her voice shifting from concern to business. "What about the auto payments? Cancel them all." Even over the phone, I could hear her eyebrows rising. "All of them?" "All of them," I said again. Mortgage, utilities, car insurance, their Costco card, all of it. I didn't need time to think. I didn't want one more dime flowing out of my life and into theirs. Then I called Ridgeway. The event manager, a woman named Dana, was apologetic when she realized who I was. "We were told you were, not involved with the event," she said carefully. I didn't yell. I didn't ask why no one checked. I just said, "I need to redirect the deposit. That $20,000 you're still holding, transfer it. Transfer it to the Oregon Children's Hospital Foundation," I said. "I already called their office. They're expecting it." Silence. Then, "Wow, that's generous." "No," I said flatly. "It's just money. Might as well go somewhere it's actually wanted." By noon, the tap was officially turned off. I didn't send any emails. I didn't post online any. I didn't call anyone to explain. I just flipped the switch, and then I waited. It didn't take long. At 1:04 p.m., my phone buzzed. Joel, 2 missed calls. Then came Lisa. Then Mom. Then Dad. By 3:15 p.m., I had 44 missed calls and 19 new voicemails. I didn't listen to a single one. I turned off notifications, tossed the phone on the counter, and made myself a sandwich. Sat on the back porch and ate it in peace. It was the first real meal I'd had in almost 2 days. Around 4, my landline rang. I didn't even know it still worked. I picked up out of curiosity. "Hello?" "Mitch," Dad's voice. Sharp. Loaded. I didn't say anything. "You think this is funny? You think humiliating your own family is some kind of sick joke?" Still, I said nothing. "We had people depending on that cruise. Your mother is humiliated. Lisa's crying. Joel's business account is frozen. He has payroll, Mitch. Payroll." I let him finish. Then I said, "You called me a beggar." He went quiet. "I paid for that party," I said. "Paid for your mortgage, paid off your credit cards, paid for your trips, your wine club, your premium gas, your cable with the damn sports package. And when I showed up with your gift, you had me thrown out like a problem. That was a misunderstanding." "No," I said. It was very clear. "We're family," he snapped. "No," I said, calmly. "I was your wallet, and now I'm not." He slammed the phone down. I sat there with the dial tone ringing in my ear, smiling for the first time in days. They weren't calling to apologize. They were calling because the system broke. Because they suddenly had to figure out how to live without me propping them up. And the thing is, they weren't scared I was gone. They were scared the money was. I used to think love meant showing up, being the dependable one, the fixer. But love without respect, that's servitude, and I was done being the help. They'd figure it out, or they wouldn't. Either way, that wasn't my problem anymore. They came for more money. They left with a mirror. They showed up at my house the next morning. No text, no warning. Just 4 angry shadows on my front porch. Dad, Mom, Joel, and Lisa, all packed in close, arms crossed, expressions tight. Lisa's husband wasn't there. Maybe even he had enough sense to stay home. I didn't even bother to pretend I wasn't there. I opened the door and stepped aside. "You've got 15 minutes, I said. Dad shoved past me like he still owned the place. The others followed. Lisa looked like she'd been crying, but the way she marched into my living room said this wasn't about emotion. This was about control. "Is this your idea of revenge?" Dad snapped as soon as I closed the door. "Cutting us off? Embarrassing us? You think you're making a point?" "I think I'm making a choice," I said. Joel stepped forward. "You froze my business account. I have orders pending, man. Payroll due. You know how hard it's been for me to get traction." I held up a folder and handed it to him. "Page 3. That's how much of your traction I funded." He opened it. His face dropped. Lisa grabbed her copy off the table and flipped through it. "What is this?" she muttered. "It's called a spreadsheet," I said. "Every dollar I've paid out for the last 15 years, broken down by person, by purpose, itemized, verifiable." Mom sat on the edge of the couch. "You actually kept track?" I looked at her, dead in the eye. "Because none of you ever did." Joel flipped pages, mumbling under his breath. "No way you gave me 38 grand. That's—" "Joel," I interrupted. "I paid your rent for 10 months, covered the gym equipment you never returned, paid off your past due taxes in 2016 and 2019. I even covered your lease when you let it lapse and blamed the dealership." He didn't respond. Lisa's hands were shaking as she scanned the list. "You think this makes you better than us?" "No," I said, "but it sure as hell makes me different." Then I reached under the table and pulled out one more item, a small Bluetooth speaker. I tapped my phone and hit play. My father's voice rang out. Get this beggar out of here. Silence. The audio continued. Security's response, my soft protest, the tone of dismissal in Dad's voice like I wasn't even worth explaining to. When I stopped the recording, I looked around. Nobody moved. See, I said, you didn't just throw me out of a party I paid for. You called me a beggar, in public, in front of strangers. After everything I've done, that was the moment something changed. Lisa looked like she wanted to say something. Maybe she was searching for a defense, but there wasn't one. Dad tried to speak, but I cut him off. Don't you dare say it was just words. Words are the only currency I've ever wanted from you people. Not money, not gifts, just acknowledgement. Mom rubbed her forehead. We were hurt. You blindsided us, canceling things, cutting ties. That's not how family handles disagreements. No, I said, that's how boundaries work. And until now, I didn't have any. Joel slammed the folder closed. So what? You want us to pay you back? Is that what this is? No, I said. I don't want anything. Then why are we here? Lisa snapped. Because for once, you're going to sit in a room and see it, all of it. The money, the history, the silence, the constant taking. I wanted you to see what you built. I stood, walked over to the mantel, pulled down the photo from Mom and Dad's 40th anniversary, the one where I stood at the edge of the frame like an extra. I set it on the table and faced them. You didn't just take from me, I said. You erased me. We were grateful, Mom said weakly. You were entitled, I corrected. Joel started pacing. So what now? You done playing martyr? You gonna post this online, shame us into admitting we're the bad guys? I walked over to him, calm and steady, and placed a hand on his folder. No, Joel, I said. I'm not shaming you. I'm freeing you. No more guilt. No more asking me for things. No more pretending we're close. From this moment on, we are exactly what you made us, separate. They were quiet for a long time after that. Lisa looked at me like I was someone she didn't recognize. And maybe she didn't, because for the first time in my life, I wasn't flinching. I wasn't apologizing. I wasn't offering to fix anything. Dad finally stood. You're not family, he said coldly. I smiled. That's the first honest thing you've said to me in 20 years. Then I opened the door and let them out. Sometimes the silence after no is the sweetest sound in the world. After they walked out of my house, I sat in the same chair for an hour. Not because I was frozen, not because I was second-guessing myself. I just needed to feel what it was like, that first breath of air after pulling someone else's hands off your neck. It was quiet, unbelievably quiet. No texts, no pings, no emails asking for a quick favor. I made coffee. Not the rushed kind I drank on the way to job sites, a real one. French press, fresh beans, full process. Took my mug to the porch and listened to the birds instead of a voicemail from Lisa saying she didn't want to bother me, but for the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone to ask for something. But of course, it didn't last. By noon, the phone started buzzing again. Blocked numbers, unknown callers. One voicemail from Lisa's husband. I don't know what kind of mental breakdown you're having, but the kids are crying. Disneyland is canceled. Hope you're happy. No apology, just rage coated in guilt. Then an email from Mom, subject line from one parent to a son. We may have said some things we didn't mean, but this is still your family, Mitchell. You don't just throw us away like trash. I didn't reply. Then a text from Lisa. You always needed to be the victim. Well, now you've got your wish. Congrats. Everyone's miserable. Joel called twice. No message. Just the same number blinking again and again until I blocked it. Not a single one of them said sorry. Not a single one asked how I was doing. They were furious, but not confused. Because deep down, they knew what they'd done. By the end of the week, I'd blocked 9 numbers and filtered every family email to a folder I never checked. And still, my world didn't collapse. Business kept going. Bookings came in. My employees showed up on time. Clients paid their invoices. The work, as always, stayed steady, even if my family hadn't. Carla, my bookkeeper, stopped by with lunch on Thursday. She sat across from me, chewing a tuna melt and looking over the last batch of bank statements. You seem lighter, she said casually. I nodded. First time I've slept through the night in 3 years. I wasn't being dramatic. I used to wake up at 2 a.m. with phantom stress, remembering Joel's car note was due, wondering if Lisa's utilities had bounced, trying to recall if I'd transferred enough for Mom's copay. Now, I slept. 8 hours, like a normal person. But the biggest surprise came a few days later. My cousin Tony called. We hadn't talked in over a year. Last I heard, he'd moved to Spokane and started a landscaping business. He opened with, "Hey man, I just wanted to say I heard what happened and I should have said something a long time ago." I didn't know what to say. No one else had reached out without an ask attached. Tony continued, "I remember when you paid for Laura's tuition. Nobody ever acknowledged it, but I knew. I saw what they were doing. I just didn't want to get involved." There was a pause. "But I'm proud of you, Mitch. You did what the rest of us were too scared to." We talked for 20 minutes. Not about money, not about Lisa or Joel or any of the garbage they dumped on me. We talked about real stuff: weather, work, the trail he was clearing behind his house. When we hung up, I sat back and realized something. You don't know how deep the damage runs until you stop letting people dig. I'd spent my whole life believing that being dependable was the price of love. That saying yes was how you earned your place at the table. But all it ever got me was a seat next to people who didn't see me. Now, I had peace. Not because they stopped trying, but because I stopped answering. Even the people who died before you woke up might have seen it all along. I hosted my first Thanksgiving without them that year. No mom fussing over the gravy, no dad pretending to carve the turkey while everyone waited on him, no Joel asking who brought beer, no Lisa whining that she doesn't eat that kind of stuffing. And for once, I didn't miss any of it. Instead, I filled my house with people who wanted to be there. My friend Nate came early and helped with the sweet potatoes. My bookkeeper Carla brought her husband, who turned out to be a closet pie genius. Two of my guys from the shop showed up with their families and a cooler full of homemade tamales. Even Tony made the drive from Spokane, and he brought his teenage son, who wouldn't stop asking about how HVAC units work. It wasn't flashy. There was no centerpiece, no matching tablecloths, but there was laughter. There was warmth. There was peace. We didn't talk about family drama. Nobody asked why my parents weren't there. We just passed dishes, swapped stories, and gave thanks. Around dessert, my Aunt Jan pulled me aside. I hadn't seen her in years. She was my mom's older sister, the one who always brought weird vegetable casseroles to Christmas. She handed me a plain white envelope. "This is long overdue," she said. I looked at it, confused. "What is it?" "Your grandmother left it for you," she said quietly. "She gave it to me before she passed. Said not to give it to anyone else, just you. But your mom said, well, she told me you weren't in the right mindset, that it'd just stress you out." My stomach tightened. Jan leaned in. "I don't think your grandmother believed that for a second." After she walked away, I sat down at the kitchen table and opened it. Inside was a handwritten note in Grandma Ruth's wobbly cursive. "Mitch, I know what they take from you. I see what they don't give back. This isn't to make up for any of that. It's just so when the time comes, you don't feel alone. Love, Grandma." Tucked behind the letter was a copy of a trust account, $150,000. I stared at the number for a long time like it was in a different language. Jan must have seen my face from across the room. She came over and sat beside me. "She set it up after you paid off your parents' second mortgage," she said. "She asked a lawyer friend to draw it up. Said she didn't trust anyone else to make sure it got to you." I didn't know what to say. My grandma had passed 5 years ago. She'd lived with my parents the last few months of her life. I remember visiting, bringing groceries, fixing the porch steps she kept tripping over. I'd thought she was quiet near the end, sleepy, detached, but apparently she was paying attention. She saw it. Someone saw it. And suddenly that money felt less like a gift and more like proof. That maybe I wasn't crazy. That maybe I hadn't imagined the years of taking and forgetting and discarding. Maybe she'd seen me, really seen me, the whole time. I looked around the room. Tony was showing Nate how to carve a turkey leg without shredding it. Carla's husband was trying to fix my back door hinge just for fun. Laughter rolled out from the living room like a wave, and I realized something. This wasn't the backup plan. This was the plan. This was the real family, the chosen one. The people who show up without needing anything from you but your time and your company. I tucked the envelope into my coat pocket and went back to the table. Carla handed me a plate with a fat slice of pumpkin pie and said, "So, this is going to be a yearly thing, right?" I smiled. "Yeah," I said. "It is now. Sometimes your abusers come back, not with apologies, but with new tricks. 6 months later, I got a message from Joel. Just a simple line. Would be good to talk. No pressure. Just coffee? At first, I deleted it, but then Lisa texted too. Then Mom, all saying the same thing in different flavors. Let's meet up just to talk, no expectations. I wasn't sure what annoyed me more, the nerve or the rehearsed tone. Eventually, I agreed. Not for them, for me. I wanted to see if they'd changed, or at the very least, if they could say the words they'd dodged for so long. We met at a coffee shop in the mall. Neutral territory. Public. No history. I got there 5 minutes early and chose the table closest to the window. They were already waiting. All three of them. Mom had curled her hair. Dad looked thinner than I remembered. Joel wore a shirt with buttons, maybe to show he was serious. No one hugged. No one smiled. Just nods and stiff hellos. I set the timer on my phone. 30 minutes, I said. That's all I've got. Joel gave a tight laugh. Still running on a schedule, huh? I didn't respond. They started slow, small talk, asked about the business, pretended to care. Then Lisa launched the first pitch. We just want to reconnect, she said. Things got messy, but family's family, right? I raised an eyebrow. Is that what you said when you had me thrown out of Ridgeway? Silence. Mom jumped in. We all made mistakes, but we miss you. The kids miss you. You don't even reply to birthday pictures anymore. I nodded slowly. I told you I'd be in their lives if I could see them without you. That offer still stands. That caught them off guard. Joel blinked. Wait. What? I'm happy to take your kids to dinner, to the movies, whatever, but not if you're there. Lisa's face flushed. You're not serious. I've never been more serious. Dad leaned in. That's not how this works. That's exactly how this works now, I said, calm and even. I don't owe you anything. Not time, not money, not explanations. Lisa laughed bitterly. So what? You just cut us off forever? Pretend we don't exist? You already pretended I didn't exist. I just caught up. Joel tried again. Look, Mitch, I get it. Things got messed up, but we've been thinking a lot about what family means, about healing. I leaned forward. So have I. Every damn day since April. And you know what I realized? They all waited. That family doesn't mean blood, it means behavior. I stood and finished my coffee. And behavior-wise, you're just strangers with my last name. Lisa's mouth opened like she wanted to argue, but no sound came. I grabbed my coat. Tell your kids I said hi. I mean it. I'll be around, just not for you. And with that, I walked out. No shouting, no drama, just a quiet door swinging closed. And this time, it stayed that way. YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.